Steve here, and today we're doing a live video here in Korea. And today's topic is you got to have a backup plan. So it's interesting when people talk about retiring overseas, and a lot of us, me included, just want to go all in, get settled, and boom, we're done. We get the long-term visa, get a place to live, and then pretty much, just settle and be done with it for, the next 10, 20, 30 years or whatever it is, and live a happily retired life. The problem is that sometimes that doesn't work out. And I've been noticing some things, especially since we retired overseas and we're here in Korea, that I've noticed some people have they want to do the same thing, but then you got to have a backup plan. And the reason I say you got to have a backup plan is because there are people out there who have done this before us and before we did, that have spent time in Philippines and Thailand and Vietnam and Laos and Cambodia and South America and Belize and Mexico and so on and so forth. There's a plethora of people out there who have gone overseas and said, you know what, this is it. I'm going to retire overseas and we're going to be done with it. They sell the farm, they go to an overseas location, they buy a place to live, and boom, they're all in. But then a little while later, what we end up seeing is that these people are the same ones that things didn't work out quite as well as they had hoped. And unfortunately, these people found out that where they were at, that things changed in life. And so you had people where either the political structure of the country that they were in changed, or crime had changed. In other words, they moved to a place overseas where there's very little crime. Maybe there was extremism before when they moved overseas to a certain location, and then as they spent a number of years there, you have high crime, you have extremists that have come into the picture and changed the neighborhood, or the way that people deal with each other, or the way the government that deals with people, or so on and so forth. Political unrest, that always comes into play as well. And just how the country treats foreigners. There's a lot of people, for example, who went down to Mexico and they said, oh, I'm going to retire and I'm going to go down to Mexico and I'm going to retire down in Cancun, or I'm going to retire down in some area that was really nice a ways back, a long time ago, or not even a long time ago. And then we had problems with drug cartels, and they had problems with crime, and then they had problems with the Mexican government not doing anything about crime or the drug cartels, and so on and so forth. So you have murders of tourists and people that are on retirement visas there in Mexico, and unfortunately, that changes a lot of people's minds. So you have people that started with a good intent of saying, hey, I found a place I want to retire. I like the beach, I like the mountains, whatever it is. But for some reason, economically, politically, crime, civil unrest, whatever it is, and it could even be economically. We've seen places where people have retired, a ways back, and all of a sudden now these places that were really, really affordable have skyrocketed overnight within a short period of time, and housing has exploded. So, a place where you could, get a nice place for $500 a month, now it's like $1,000, $1,500 a month, and so on and so forth. And the prices keep going up. And part of that is because of the demographics here in America. Well, not here in America because I'm in Korea, but being an American. But we have a lot of people that are my age, I'm 56, that are hitting their 50s and they're getting close to, drawing retirement, drawing their Social Security, which, most people can start at age 62. And then what they'll end up doing is, there's going to be this huge influx of retirees. And most people are seeing that they can't retire in the United States, but they can retire overseas. And we're seeing this in other countries as well. So what happens is you got a bunch of people that are like, okay, well, I can't retire in my own home country, but I can retire in the Philippines, or I can retire in Bali, and I can retire in, whatever country there is. And when there's a huge influx of people that need housing and rental and so on and so forth, people are going to get smart and they're going to say, wait a second, I was renting this place out for $250 a month. Well, now I'm going to rent it out because all these people are coming in here. You have digital nomads, you have people that are retiring early, you have people that, are living off of, some type of pension or disability or dividends off the stock portfolios that they have. And so it's like, wait a second, we're getting more and more people. So this is getting more popular. So what happens to rental prices? Those go up. What happens to buying properties? Those properties go up as well. And we see this with places in the United States. We look at California, we look at great beach communities, Venice Beach and so on and so forth, way back in the day. Those places used to be dirt cheap. And then, or Hawaii, Oahu, and all the islands there, it was kind of like, oh, wow, this is really inexpensive. My grandparents lived on Oahu when they were stationed there. And, property was dirt cheap. And even after that, property wasn't too expensive. But then once they found out, other people in the world found out, and people in America are like, whoa, wait a second. Blue sky, clean air, beaches, and Oahu, and just the aloha spirit that is there, that really got people to say, oh, well, we're going to buy property. Next thing you know, property is skyrocketed, has gone just through the roof. Like I said, we considered living on Oahu, but the real estate prices are just so out of control. It's no wonder that you see families where you have the mom and the dad, the sons and the daughters who are married and have their families living in one house. You'll see a house that's rented, but they rent out individual rooms and use the kitchen as a joint kitchen and kind of a roommate dorm type of situation, because the rent and the mortgages for these places are so high, and it keeps just getting higher and higher. This is going to happen to a lot of other countries. This is going to happen. It's already happening in Bali. We've already seen prices go up there. And I've been keeping track of Bali and so on and so forth. Philippines, we've seen it in some places. There's still a lot of places that you can, go live out in the province, and it's going to be cheap as all get out. But what we're looking at is people my age that want some type of creature comforts. They want the air conditioning. They want to have a doctor or a dentist close by and all of those things. And unfortunately, a lot of people find those things and they see that the American dollar can go further in places like that. So rents are going to go up, mortgages are going to go up, prices of food and amenities and utilities, all of those things are going to go up over time. Not as much as they are in the United States, mind you, kind of like here in Korea. I mean, we have our expenses in the United States, for example, property tax. Back in Colorado, we had three bedroom, master bath, Bullnose Corners house with unfinished basement. I think it was like 3,500 square feet. Add the unfinished basement, which we had a full gym in there. We're paying, and this is in a small town of about 3,000 or 4,000 people. But property taxes, when we left, was coming up on $1,700 a year. Let's compare that to what are the property taxes here in this 4-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, which we have a semi-private elevator. So when we get in the elevator to come up to our floor, there's only our unit and our neighbors. I mean, that's what I call semi-private. Our property tax for the year for this place, which is about 1,700 square feet, comes out to less than $250 a year. Electricity is way cheaper. Trash is included in the apartment fee, and I'm going to do a video. I keep saying I'm going to do a video on expenses, and I just keep getting sidetracked. But eventually I will do a video on expenses. But when you look at the expenses, it's cheaper here than it was for us in the United States, and the prices just kept going up in the United States. So people like myself will see that they can retire overseas and live comfortably But eventually, you got to have a plan B, and that's what this video is talking about. I sat down and I listened to a number of people talking about how they went to Mexico and how they went to Belize and how they went to Thailand and Philippines and in all these different places. And then either the government changed or, the political parties within the government changed and, retirement, visas and your ability to stay long-term in certain places has changed. Immigration laws have been changed in ways that is not beneficial, for foreign retirees and so on and so forth. For example, I think Bali is talking about, I just watched a video the other day where Bali is talking about limiting the number of tourists. Well, if you're going to limit the number of tourists, you're probably going to limit the number of retirees that can come into the country. And of course, Bali's big draw in the way that they make money is tourism. So, but they're talking about limiting the number of tourists that come to Bali. It is what it is. Their government's going to do what they're going to do, but that can throw a monkey wrench into a lot of people's plans. So, for example, we came here to Korea and we said, and we looked at Costa Rica, we looked at Philippines, we were in Thailand, we had been to Thailand before, but nothing really clicked. And then we figured, well, we'll retire here in Korea because we're kind of centered around all of these other countries that we want to visit. And if something goes wrong here and we don't want to be retired here in Korea anymore, we made sure that we bought this apartment that has a real good rental possibility. So we're close to a military base, but we're far enough away that you don't get the craziness. And so it's like a whole different world as soon as you get within a couple blocks of our place. Really nice, really quiet, higher end apartment building, obviously. And so if for some reason we decide, hey, we're going to leave here, our plan B could be to go to the Philippines, or it could be to Thailand, or, Costa Rica, or whatever, Puerto Rico, whatever, some other country, we can rent this place out and make about close to $1,500 to $2,000 a month off of the rent, with higher paying tenants from the United States military, most likely officers and so on and so forth, people that have larger families, get paid a lot for their housing overseas, and it's all based on rank. So the higher rank you are, the more money you get, and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's kind of interesting because there's people that say, well, I'm going to sell everything. I'm going to do what you do, and I'm going to go to Thailand, and I'm just going to. That's my plan. And this one individual, he ended up talking, and he was saying, hey, I'm going to sell everything, go to Thailand, and I'm going to get the retirement visa, the elite retirement visa, which was for 5 years, it's like $17,000. For 10 years, it's like 26 or $28,000. And for 20 years, it was almost $60,000. Well, he wanted to spend and get the 20-year elite Thailand visa. And it's like, whoa, you don't spend that money, okay? I would do a 5-year visa maybe. But even before that, I would just go there and just do a year-to-year thing. And if you're retired and you got the pension coming in and you can prove that you have those funds and you can apply for that long-term visa with X amount of money coming in per month or in their Thai bank or whatever, then you're good to go. But what happens when the government changes their mind about retirees in their country or makes changes about tourism? Because then you come to this place of making a decision of saying, okay, well, property or tourism, we're going to take that away, we're going to limit or whatever. And then if you don't have that money coming in, you're going to depress that local economy that's in that area. And then what happens when you do that? Well, crime goes up. And who are they going to steal from? Are they going to steal from their own, or are they going to steal from the foreigners that are there? They'll probably do both, but foreigners have more money, so yeah, being a smart thief, you're going to probably steal from foreigners. because they tend to have more money and they can retire early and so on and so forth. Let's see. Angry Donkey VR says we don't have property tax as such in the UK, but we have council tax, which is still pretty expensive. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. And then property tax in Korea is 6% approximately. Uh, it kind of depends on the property and the price. I don't want to say it's 6%. I want to say it's 2 to 4% or something like that, but it's really low as far as the property tax. But there are one-time taxes that you spend or have to pay for when you buy a property, but it's just a one-time tax or fee and so on and so forth, and then you're done with it. But as far as the property tax every year, yeah, it's less than $240, $220 a year or something like that, which is really nice because in having a paid off property, normally if we were going to rent this place, if we were going to rent a place like this, we'd be paying, close to $2,000 a month. But with that, since we bought it outright, boom, now we're saving $2,000 a month, which is awesome. So that frees up our budget and allows us to, one, live in a really nice place. Two, if we do have to leave, we can rent this out and we can make some money and even with a good deal. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, I didn't know that about the UK and how they didn't have property tax, but they have a council tax. Everybody's got taxes. Yeah, it's just the way it is. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, you got to pay the man. You got to pay the man. So, but yeah, my advice to people that want to retire overseas, go visit the place that you want to retire. And I've had some people contact me, which people are free to do. Usually they do it through Facebook or whatever. And they can find me on Facebook and they'll send me PMs. Hey, I'm thinking about doing this or that, over in Korea. Can you help me out? Seen your videos. And yeah, I haven't turned anybody down. What I do have a problem with is people that are saying, where should I retire? What's a good place? I can't answer those questions because I don't know what your budget is. I don't know what you consider being comfortable. Your definition of comfortable might be here and mine might be down here. So there might be a huge difference. As far as things like food or transportation, you might just want to do, public transportation. Me, no, I don't want to do that stuff. So there's a lot of variables that come into play. But when people contact me and they say, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm all in, and we're going to retire there. And it's like, well, how much time have you spent here? Or just in general, if you're trying to retire overseas, how much time have you spent in that country? Have you visited? Have you, besides going on vacation, have you tried to do a long-term stay for, 30, 60, or 90 days? Kind of like the max time that you can be in that country to really get a feel outside of the tourist zones. Yeah. And what about the bureaucracy? What about, the intricacies of having a visa and updating forms and paying money and this and that and the whole 9 yards? It's just absolutely crazy. It looks good on paper or it looks good in YouTube videos when you see the beaches of Thailand or the Philippines and the crystal clear waters of Palawan Island or Phi Phi Island or places like that. We've been to Phi Phi Island. And it just makes you want to retire there. But there's always bureaucracy. And that's the other thing is how much are you willing to put up with? So, yeah, anyway. Angry Donkey says, council tax in UK for our house is around £1,400 or 1,744 US dollars. Wow. I'm assuming that's a lot, I guess. That sounds similar to what we were paying. But ours went up, and we had been in that house for, seven or 10 years, something like that, 7 years. But like clockwork, the tax kept going up almost $100 every year. Some years a little bit more, some was a little bit less, but it averaged out to about $100 a year that the tax would go up and jump. And then, of course, your electricity goes up and your gas for heating the house, that goes up. And then the trash, your water, cost of water goes up and electricity and all of those things. And the next thing you know, you're just like, and then registration for vehicles and insurance goes up. And it's just like when you start to look at where you are now and then you project out to your retirement age and you're saying, okay, well, the last 7 years, we've averaged about $100 increase on our property taxes. Let's go forward to when I hit retirement age. How much is my property tax going to increase? What is it going to be? And how much money, then all the other increases as well. So that really brings people to a place of where they think about overseas retirement, because those prices are a lot less than what we pay in the United States. And as like Angry said, I've run into some people that, come from the UK and watch videos of them in Thailand and Philippines and Bali and so on and so forth, where the dollar goes further in those countries. So they're more than happy to retire in those places that at home they never would be able to retire. But you always have to have a plan B. This brings up an interesting situation, which is medical. Medical in overseas locations can be very different than your home country, like the United States. It's really different, and the level of care, like, so for example, in the United States, I've got some mental health meds, I've got some back pain, I got herniated discs, I got some medical problems that I had when I was in the military. So I have all these things that I got to deal with, and I get medications for all those. So I can go see a general practitioner, my primary care manager, go see my doctor, who is a general family practice doctor, and I can say, hey, I need a refill on my mental health meds. I need a refill on pain and anti-inflammatory medication, or I need, for GERD and this and that, whatever. And the doc will be like, okay, any change, any problem, blah, 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 blah. No problems whatsoever. I can get all of those medications re-prescribed and get refills. Not so much here in Korea. It's not like that. So in Korea, what we found out is that if I need to get mental health meds and get a prescription, then I need to go make an appointment at a hospital with a mental health professional. If I have pain management for my back and chronic pain, I need to see another specialist for that. If I have a problem with, my stomach and gastric reflux disease, then for that medication, I have to go see another doctor. So I can end up going seeing 4 or 5 different doctors, trying to get my refills, and I might be able to see 1 or 2 doctors a day. So now we're looking at multiple doctor's appointments, and so that's kind of different than what we have in the United States. I'm not sure how it is in the UK, but what I do like about Korea is that they've got some really good doctors, and that once you get past that hurdle of seeing, each individual doctor, they've got some real good medical facilities and things here in Korea. Matter of fact, I'm going to be going up to Samsung University or Samsung Medical Hospital up in Seoul, which is a huge, very, very big hospital with some great doctors, do some great work, great customer service. And even here in where we're at, we're close to Pyeongtaek. We're close to a military base, but the Pyeongtaek Hospital, Good Morning Hospital, has some great facilities. Kind of a cookie cutter type of mentality amongst the doctors. So there's that. They're not as, in some areas of medicine, they're not as liberal or as free thinking as what they are in the United States, as what we experienced anyway. So what medical care and medications that you have gotten from the States, from a doctor, you might not get those medications here in Korea because they don't do things the same way. They might do a little cookie cutter protocol compared to, some different stuff that they do in the United States. United States, we've had our doctor recommend and saying, hey, well, this medication is for these things over here, but we've been finding out that it's also good for this, so I want you to try this. Here in Korea, I haven't experienced that at all. So Yeah, medical care is important, and especially as you become older. I'm 56, and it's downhill from here. For everybody. The older you get, it eventually you're going to coast down that hill to shedding off this mortal coil. So yeah, if you want to retire in, say, like the Philippines, out in the provinces, and you live in this little hut, with dirt on the floor, and you have chickens and whatever, and you're only spending like $500 a month, what happens when you have a stroke and you need a wheelchair, or you need to use a walker, or a number of other medical problems can pop up. What if you get MS? What if you get this or that? Or what if you go blind? Or what if you get cancer? What type of cancer treatments can you get, and is it close by? Or are you going to have to make a long and arduous trip to get to a good hospital to give you that cancer treatment or whatever treatment you need? So yeah, there's got to be that balance. When you're younger, it's absolutely fine to say, I'm going to live off the grid, and I'm going to live in a dirt hut and whatever, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to save money and just live off the land like a local. Yeah, that's fine when you're young. But when you get older, you're going to run across some medical issues that you just can't do those things anymore. So, that is coming. So you need to keep that in mind as well. What's interesting is the Philippines and Bali, you can get, I guess, kind of like live-in healthcare or live-in maids or service that will come and do your groceries, do your meals, help you out, with your physical problems or whatever. It's going to cost you not as much as it would in the United States. And they actually have assisted living facilities, I know, in the Philippines that are just like crazy. And they're crazy as awesome, on the beaches or whatever. Some really great facilities have doctors on site, nurses on site, but you're paying a fraction of the money that you would pay in the United States. So, for example, my grandmother, and she's passed. She's a great woman, and my grandparents were awesome, but both my grandparents have passed away. My grandma is the last one that passed, and she was in an assisted living facility in Southern California, and it was paying, like, if I remember correctly, it was like $5,000 or $6,000, $7,000 a month. It was up there, and it was like, oh my gosh. And she wouldn't have been able to stay there unless my grandparents had been frugal with their money and invested and so on and so forth. It would be impossible for them to do that. So what about the average American family? The average retiree, how are you going to pay for that senior care? Most people can't do it in the United States. So then you end up in state-run facilities, which the level of care goes down, the level of medical competence of the doctors and nurses and so on and so forth goes down. It's just a problem. But in other countries, those things go up as in quality of care, and even though it's lower in price, it's lower than what you would pay in the United States, but you're getting a high quality care. So, that might have to be your plan B. Might be, okay, well, I'm going to go live here, and then if I have medical problems, well, I'm going to have to move closer to a medical facility, or I'm going to have to move to where there's senior care, assisted living, and so on and so forth. So those are things we got to keep in mind. Let's see. Angry says, in the UK, I find the quality of care is average, but it's generally free. Nothing in life is free. You pay for it in tax. That's where maybe that council tax comes into play. But yeah, somebody's paying for it. Hard to get a dentist though. I was lucky to get an NHS dentist, which is also generally free, and might join you in Korea in about 10 years' time, when me and the missus will be 65. All right, cool. That's awesome. But yeah, it's kind of interesting when we talk about care, because like here in Korea, let's talk about dental care. I have gotten, matter of fact, just a couple of days ago, I just finished up with some new teeth. I've got like 6 crowns, and I've got 2 implants, and they're gonna finish those next month. But the prices for that, so you're looking at 6 crowns, and there's another one over here that they might do another crown, so possibly 7, but for 6 crowns and 2 implants of Osteam implants with teeth, we're looking at 7 million won, which is about $5,300, $5,300, give or take a little bit because of the exchange rate. But at the exchange rate that we have now, which is, I think, what I just checked like a day or two ago, it was about 1,337 won per dollar. Dental care for what I got done is awesome, because I've seen people who have said, just to get one implant is going to cost you about $3,000 to $5,000 for one implant. Well, I'm going to get 2 implants. I already got the implants that are actually in my jaw. I've got those done. And then I also got the 6 crowns because I had some really bad teeth. Boom, got me in. Boom, we're going to do this, going to do this. Care was awesome. Didn't feel any pain. I think I felt one shot at the one time that I went there, but it was kind of a last minute thing because the dentist was like, okay, well, wait a second. I think we're going to work on this one. And so it was really good, awesome care. And I did a video of it. I think I posted that, of the dental clinic that we go to, which is close by, about 30 minutes away. But the dental care here that we experienced at that place far surpasses any dental care that I've gotten anywhere else, whether I was in the military or whether I was in the United States. And in the United States, I've lived in, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, California, where else? Phoenix, close to Phoenix. That's Arizona. But yeah, and then overseas, then there was Washington, there's Tennessee, Clarksville, Tennessee, then up in Washington State, lived up there. So yeah, I have never got such good dental care as I have here in Korea. So, then that comes into play. For things that happen, you're gonna slowly but surely, you're gonna break down and fall apart, and you're gonna need to get those parts replaced or fixed. How much does that cost? And what is your budget for those things? So think of it this way. Your backup plan, let's say, for us, we lucked out because here in Korea, awesome prices, awesome care as far as dental. But let's say you're going to the Philippines or, and you find a better deal for dental, like in, say, Costa Rica. That was one of the places that I considered getting my dental work done, but it pales in comparison to the price that I had to pay here. I mean, it was more expensive there than what I paid here in Korea. So again, you got to have a backup plan for your medical, for your dental, for your housing, in case you run into medical situations, you have a stroke or, you fall and you break a hip and you can't get up. If you live out in the province of somewhere, with dirt floors and it's real, you got to ride a bus, like an hour and a half just to get to a grocery store. If you break a hip or a leg or whatever, can you do that? Can you do that in that condition when you get infirmed and elderly? You got to have a backup plan. So, it's been very interesting, and especially thinking about these things as far as what's going to happen later in life, and is your end of care life, how is that going to look? I know nobody wants to talk about that stuff. Nobody wants to talk about the backup plan for that. Nobody wants to talk about wills and trusts or whatever you end up doing to have your assets passed on to the next family member without incurring a ton of taxes and debt. You got to have a backup plan for that. So yeah, there's a lot of things that you have to do that in the United States we just kind of take it for granted, but you need to have a backup plan when you retire overseas. And to really have a good plan, you need to look at all those different areas. So yeah, that's what we got going on. Matter of fact, next month I'm going to finish up my dental, which is going to put the actual teeth on my two implants there. But yeah, my teeth here, look at that. Super nice. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And I still got to go back, and I have one temporary crown here that they're going to replace, and they might do another one. It depends. The dentist is like, and he really figures things out. You can see he's thinking, and he's like, okay, if we do this and this and this, and what would be the best? And he's actually like, he did, I know I'm kind of going off on a rabbit trail, but he did my crowns and brought them out. And then of course, they're all done in-house. It's 3D and ceramic molded, printed stuff. They do everything in-house, incredible work. And then he puts them in and he looks at them and he's like, and he's talking and he consults with a few other people, comes in, and then he's like, okay, he spoke some English, and basically he says, Mr. Olson, I think it would be better if we had a brighter shade of your crowns. And I was happy with the color of my other crowns that they were going to put in, but he said, no, you know what? I think we want to change this, and what do you think? And here's what we want to change it to. So it's going to be another, week or 2 weeks or whatever. Come back, and it will take the temporaries out, and then we'll put in the new ones, the permanent crowns. And I was like, sure, yeah. I mean, who does that in the United States? I've never experienced that. Mostly I've experienced like, it's good enough. It'll work, but it's nice to be able to have the type of care where somebody is really caring about you and they want the best possible fit for you and the best possible service, and he's apologizing, oh, I'm sorry for this, blah, 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 but I really think this would be better. And you're looking and you're going, hell yeah, I'll do that. That's worth it. It'll make my teeth look better. And you don't see that in the United States. Now, I'm not saying that's the way it is with every single dentist here in Korea, because I've heard some horror stories as well. But yeah, you got to do your own due diligence and find a highly rated dentist, just like you would in the United States. Problem is, in the United States, even the high rated dentists still had problems. So, but anyway, yeah, that's what we got going on. Got to have a backup plan, and that's something that we're looking at. And so while we have this time, we're going to go back to Hawaii this October to visit family, and then hopefully, Lord willing, January, February, maybe March, we're going to go to the Philippines, and we're going to check the Philippines out for 2 or 3 weeks, something like that. Kind of do a little vacation, but then also kind of check out things as far as, retirement wise. Maybe Philippines would be good. We like the beach and so on and so forth. Not so much the typhoons and the storms and the tons of rain that they get and all of that stuff. It's not real keen on that stuff there. But we're still going to go check those places out. We're going to check out the Philippines. We're going to go back to Thailand eventually. That's where we're hoping to go back there and visit. But and visit Bali. Bali, we want to go to vacation. Bali, I think, is going to be problematic later on down the road, as along with some other people that I've met. They're like, yeah, the government, yeah, and some political and, how things are going there and extremism and so on and so forth. There is problems, but there's problems everywhere. But again, you need to have some good information so that you can make a well-informed decision on whether you want to take the risk. What is the risk-reward ratio? So you need to check these places out and see if that's something that you can live with. And everybody's risk level is going to be a little bit different. So anyway, that's what we got going on. And I look forward to doing some more videos. Matter of fact, I just finished up another video that will be out next week. And then I have another video that's going to be out the week after that. And I post them here in Korea on Saturday. So they should show Saturday morning. So they should show up on YouTube on Friday evenings-ish, I think, if I did the math right. So we're going to try to keep doing videos and post, like going to coffee shops or restaurants, attractions, and kind of get to see more of Korea that we've missed in all the times that we've been gone, and kind of enjoy ourselves. So look forward to that. And I got to get that expense video out. I got to get that. I really got to get that. So yeah, I'll see if I can get the wife to help out with that. We'll see what happens. So anyway, that's what we got going on. You got to have a backup plan. It's great that you want to retire overseas and have your money go farther and enjoy your retirement longer than if I retired in the United States, I would have to wait till I was almost 70, and then I could retire, and then life expectancy is what, 80, 85 years? So you're looking 10, maybe 15 years. Well, going overseas and retiring, you might be able to retire way earlier so that you can extend those golden years out and enjoy a longer retirement. Now, for people that are on Social Security, it's like, well, you can draw at age 62, you'll get less money, but your dollar goes further in some of these overseas locations, so you can actually retire and enjoy it longer, albeit with a little bit less money. But again, it's something that you need to take a look at and see if that's something that you want to do. So, yeah, everybody needs to do their own research and find out what's comfortable. And I figured, let's do it. And worst comes to worst, we could end up going to the Philippines or Thailand, or the backup to the backup of the backup plan is go back to the United States, somewhere down south where it's really cheap to live. That's the third backup plan, I think. So, yeah, that's it. All righty, well, that's going to be it. We'll see you on the next video. Be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching The Varied Life. Peace. I got to figure out how to turn this off. I think that's it. Yeah, I think so.